Today, we realize the animation of Legend of the Guardians.
Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole.
Knock knock.
In this tutorial, we will achieve a special type of bevel. Add details to the scenario, and I will show you how to build a light rays in an alternative way that pass through the text. I do a little introduction. To get this special bevel profile on the logo, I created a document in Adobe Illustrator that reproduces our front scene animation, complete with references axial. The font used is the Golden Cockerel Init or ITC, on which I have made some changes in the thickness. We analyze the L letter in detail. As we can see, the letter is composed of two paths, the path outside and path inside. For the inside path, I drew the edge of the letter, and I applied a expand stroke. To correctly apply this technique, we have to prepare the paths, so have the same number of points, and are oriented in this way. Open Cinema 4D, and we import our files inside it. Align the file at the center of the scene. Go in front view, and with the Move Pivot tool, increase the scene and center axes. Insert in the coordinates panel 0. Before proceeding with the modeling of the text, press Ctrl D, or Command D, and in the document file setting, in the FPS value, change from 30 to 24. We open the Render Settings panel, insert the final size of the project, 1920, 800. Rename 3D logo Legend of the Guardians, and activate the Alpha channel. Anti-aliasing on best. OK, extend the timeline to 80 frames. Insert a camera, activate. Reset all values to 0, except the Z position with the value, less 1920. OK, now we can delete the reference vector axis. We have two groups, we organize and rename the individual layers. The step takes a few minutes. In the first group I enter the outer and inner paths of all the letters in Legend of the Guardian. In the second group I put the letters in the Owls of Ga'Hoole. Before proceeding with the modeling of the letters, it is important to note that some letters have to be mirrored symmetrically. We see the realization of the D letter. In the outer path of the letter we apply the loft NURBS tool. Drag inside it, even the inside path. Modify the parameters of the mesh subdivision U, with a value, 300. Subdivision V value, 3. Activate the point selection tool, and to connect the two paths properly, it is very important to set the set first point. The points must be as aligned as possible. To finish, we activate the inside path of D letter, and with the Move tool, we take him out of 10 units. This is the basis of our letter. We rename D, and apply the symmetrical tool, with the mirror plane, on XY. We got the back of the letter. To improve the contour of the letter, apply the NURBS tool. To improve the bevel, inside the symmetrical panel, we disable the check, weld points. We render and visualize the result. Very nice. This procedure will take some time, and must be repeated on all the letters of our logo. The only differences are on the big letters L and G, because they have a depth of 30. On the text of the 5. All other is 10, as the D letter. This is the result. More beautiful. Epic. In some letters, as in G, we'll have to add strategic points on external and internal paths with the Add Points tool to obtain a good correct profile of the bevel. Adapt the necessary points base the letters. I'll show you 2 ways you can achieve with this technique, symmetry or hypernerbs. If we apply symmetry as the last tool, I can get a softened junction. If we apply hypernerbs as the last instrument, we must disable the weld points, and we get a good sharp junction. We see the differences. Sharp and soft junction. I prefer to use a soft junction, because it seems more elegant. Proceed with the extrude of the text the owls of the Gahul. Activate the check, hierarchical. With depth and subdivision value, 5. And fillet caps with radius, 0.4. Activate, constrain. As we can see, some letters are defective, especially the E and H letters. To resolve this problem, activate the triangle's regular grid, with a width of 0.2. Visualize the result. Perfect. Activate the camera, and proceed with the animation of the letters. We select all the letters in Legend of the Guardians, and in the 0 frame, activate keyframes of position and rotation. We repeat the same steps in 48 frames. We select the letters that make up a B and modify the timeline position from 48 frame to 44. We select the L letter and insert the following coordinates: x, less 103, y, less 14, z, less 1196, rotation, 63, less 16, 22. Follow the scheme on the video, for settings the parameters of the letter's animation coordinates.
There's a dreamy world up there, dear friends in higher places, carry me away from here. Travel light, let the sun eclipse you, 'cause your flight is about to leave. And there's more to this brave adventure than you'd ever believe. Bird's eye view, awake sky. You take to the sky. On the heels of
Very important, inside the camera panel, modify the focal length, from 36 to 42.264. And Z position coordinates value, from less 1920 to less 2260.
thousand words, so take a breath of myth and mystery, and don't look back. Bird's eye view, awake the stars, 'cause they're all around you. Wide eyes will always brighten the blue. Chase your dreams and remember me, sweet bravery, 'cause after all those wings will take you up so high. So bid the forest floor goodbye as you race the wind and take to the sky. There's a realm above the trees where the lost are finally found. So touch your feathers to the breeze and leave the ground. Bird's eye view, awake the stars, 'cause they're all around you. Wide eyes will always brighten the blue. Chase your dreams and remember me, sweet bravery, 'cause after all those wings will take you up so high. So bid the forest floor goodbye as you race the wind and take to the sky. You take to the sky. You take to the sky.
See the result of the sequence animation. OK. Proceed with the animation of the text "The Owls of Gahul." Let's go to 66 frame and select all the paths that make up the text. Insert a keyframe in the rotation H, with a value 90. Let's go to 76 frame, and insert the value 0. In this way we created the spin of all the letters at the same time. We select the extrude NURBS, and in 72 frames, on movement parameter, activate a keyframe with value 0. We insert the value 5, in 76 frames. To complete this step, we insert a tag display, with the right button, and activate an interpolation of visibility, with the value to 100, in 76 frame, and 66 frames with the value of 0. Activate the display of the camera and see the animation sequence. We select all the letters that make up the logo legend of. Go to the top view, in the 0 frame, with the right button, open the F-Curves panel. To make the movement more curved, select all the starting points of the blue curves, and gently stretch the bezier handles. This is the result of the curve paths. If you see the animation, the letters have a curved movement fluid. Create a new material. In the basic panel, activate reflection and environment. In reflection panel, insert the color 186, 177, 162. Brightness from 100 to 75. Activate additive, and on blurriness, insert the following values: 17, 100, 20, 100. In environment panel, we insert a texture type gradient. We set the orientation to type V. Followed on the video, the scheme of the gradient. Finally, we modify the value of the brightness to 70. Rename the material dark chrome. Duplicate and rename new material black chrome. Modify, in reflection panel, brightness from 85 to 50. And in the environment panel, from 70 to 33. We apply the dark material on the logo legend of the Guardians, and the black material on text the Owls of the Gahul. we make a render and visualize the result. For appreciating these materials, we must insert a HDRI reflection map. OK, insert an sky object in the scene, and through the browser panel of the Cinema 4D, in HDRI folder, import the material 016. In the Basic panel, activate Environment. In the Luminance panel, apply Filter. Inside it, we put the following values: 17 to blur, saturation to less 20, brightness to 9, and gamma to 0.9. In Environment panel, modify the color, 234, 196. And we apply a Type V texture gradient. Followed on the video the distribution of the colors in the gradient bar. Insert 10 value on blur, offset and scale, and 80 on brightness. This gradient is used to create more reflections on the top and bottom of the chrome material. In this case, has feathered edges. If you want more sharp edges, you have to change the distribution of colors in the gradient bar. We apply this material in Sky object. Finally, insert a compositing tag with Scene by Camera Off. We make a render, and visualize the result with all materials. Incredible! This combination of materials does not require the inclusion of light system. Proceed with the final rendering of the 3D logo animation. For the scenario of clouds in the video, I have already created a file in Photoshop. We visualize the file in detail. These guidelines indicate the central part that appears in the video. I added the left and right sides, more clouds and sky, with a technique of photo editing in Paint, for creating horizontal animation movement. I started with the basic gradient, I added clouds, a halo to simulate the light on the horizon, a glow to the sun, a light white for the sun, and finally, a lens burn effect. You can add other scenes, video, or landscapes that you like. Open After Effects, create a new composition, and insert the size of the 3D project created. We set to 116 frames for the duration, and the frame rate to 24. OK, we proceed to import the Photoshop file, and a video lens flares file, previously prepared. We enter in the Photoshop composition. In the clouds layer, insert a keyframes on frame 0 and 116. Modify, in frame 0, the X position value, to 1125. Drag the lens flares video, and set in add mode. This lens flars consists of circular lens simple sun reflex. OK, add a solid layer, rename, particles in the sky. And apply a particles preset in screen mode. This is a simple free presets easily found on internet. To make the particles visible, move the bitrate keyframes in 26 frames and drag the layer. Finally, strike the presence on all animation timeline. For the particles colors, I used a yellow color. Insert another layer solid start fade out. With the RGB color, 238, 254, 228. In the 0 frame insert a keyframe on opacity. And in 10 frame, change the value from 100 to 0. We import the 3D logo video. And we drag it under the start fade out layer. We see the result. In 80 frame, we apply a split layer with time stretch factor from 100 to 5000. This allows us to save time rendering in 3D software. To improve the color of the logo, we apply an levels effect. Edit gamma to 1.24. We see the result. OK, duplicate the 3D logo and gather them in a new pre-composed layer. Rename it Ray Lights. Let's go to 80 frame and make it to 3D layer. We apply a fill effect with orange color, 255, 186, 0. We apply a directional blur with angle 11 degrees and blur length to 500. we set the layer mode to add. Insert a keyframe on the X rotation, with the value less 52. And Z rotation to 7. In 115 frames, insert the following values, less 59, and 11. In frame 0, less 68, 0. OK, visualize the result. Move the layer below the logo and modify the Y position to 584 and X position to 901. To improve the Raylights effect, we apply a Gaussian blur with value from 5 to 10. As we can see, in the 0 frame, the rays below the L letter are very present. To improve the impact, we insert a layer mask on inverted mode. With the feather value to 130. We can apply a mask sequence animation path, from 0 to 34 frames, to follow the movement of the L letter. OK, perfect. If we see our animation, we see that the rays are not long enough. Change the value from 500 to 800. So that the rays follow the animation of the logo. Insert a keyframe interpolation in frame 80 to 500 value, and in 0 frame to 800. Modify the X scale value to 109. We can change the angle of the rays as we like, by entering a value from 11 to 0. Finally, to enhance the effect of radiation on the 3D logo, we have to apply masks in the pre-compose layer Raylights, only on the text the owls of the Gahul. Let's go inside, and we apply the masks in inverted mode, in the 2 layers. Do not forget that the logo, in the first part, has an animated sequence, then apply an animation on mask path, which follows the movement of the flying letters, without touching them, in order to mask only the text at the end. Okay, back to our main composition. As we can see, the rays follow only the letters that make up the logo legend of the Guardians. Very nice. Okay, we import our audio files. To finish our project, we add an adjustment layer, with an exposure effect. With value 0.2 and 0.8. If you prefer the logo more clearly, move the adjustment layer above or below the 3D logo layer. Proceed with the final rendering. Here is the result of our work.
Legend of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole.
No.
Wow, very epic. Okay guys, in the next episode we'll see how to make Transformer 3 movie title. Wow, very interesting. I hope this tutorial has been to your liking.